everyone, and welcome to In the Know with CaT Bobino. Today, I got two great guests joining me. They are the hosts of the Black Hypothesis. That's Papermade and the Langston Joules. Thank you for being a part of the show.
Thank
Thanks for
you for having us.
absolutely.
Really
Dope.
excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. This was
Awesome.
I think this is in the works for a couple of weeks. So we were actually real like boiling over with anticipation for a while. So we're glad
hmm
to be here.
Awesome. I've been excited to get a chance to talk to you. I've heard your podcast. The podcast is all about the Black experience in STEM. So I think that is amazing that you guys did that.
Thank you. And I'm so glad that you came across it. That means we're doing something right at this point. So we got to keep going with that. But I'm so glad you came across it and so that you can share it. And we'd be happy to share what you have going on too. The
Yeah,
connections that we're all making. It's
yeah.
great.
I've heard a couple of your episodes too, and they were pretty phenomenal. I've learned like I've only listened to two, but I've learned like maybe 10 minutes worth of content just from those two episodes. So you pick up some
A lot of
character.
information.
Oh
And that's
man,
what we're about.
yeah. The podcast is. I think I've been doing it off and on for 2 years, but before that, I was doing a live show out here in California. So
Okay.
I've interviewed like almost 100 people. You would think I kind of got it down now.
You probably do more than you're letting on.
Oh no, there's always hiccups, always. It never stops.
hmm Well, we
Absolutely.
can't
But
calculate
I
for
want to talk, guys.
everything.
Not me. What'd you say?
I said, well, we can't calculate everything. There's always going to be some room for error.
Always, always. But
Yeah.
enough about me. Anyone who listens to me knows about me. So we're going to talk about you two. Um,
Sure.
Tell us about your excuse me. Tell me about your podcast about the Black Hypothesis.
Okay.
The Langston, you want to start or?
To start. So imagine this. I'm gonna walk you through this experience, right? You're a young black African American or just person of color, male or female, and you really want to pursue STEM, and you're doing that. That's what you're doing. So, but as soon as you get into like higher education, into the workforce, you're looking around and you start to feel like you can't relate with some of the people around you, and that's with a lot of people in a lot of job industries, and then you have to kind of rely on things like code switching or just not bringing up your authentic self to work because you cannot relate to a lot of the people around you, and you start to feel that isolation, and that kind of stunts your growth as well. So I think part of what we're trying to do is to let everyone know, listen, y'all are not alone. We're here. All right. We're we're scattered all over, but
Mhm.
It's all good.
But as he was saying, that is a huge part of it because I would say that sometimes when we're entering this space, you do feel like the other, and not bringing your full authentic self can kind of like allow you to retreat. It can allow you to not really enjoy what you're doing as much, which then leaves room for you to switch majors, leaves room for you to, make different connections. And where you do feel that you can bring your more authentic self could possibly be something that you switch to. A lot of people, when they start out in STEM in like undergrad and stuff, or they end up switching sometimes, and we have a number of stories as to why that is. Sometimes
Mhm.
people are making you feel like, do you really want to do this? You didn't do that well in that class. Because let's be honest, some of these counselors don't really have our backs like that.
They
So
do
if you
not.
ain't gonna do that well in one class, and they'd be like, you should change your major. End of story. But then there are also instances in which we don't have the kind of exposure that allows us to even understand what opportunities lie in STEM fields. Like, I remember, and one of the things that drew me to helping to co host Black Hypothesis was like when I was living in East Orange in Jersey. EO, okay, to all my Jerseyans. But I was living in Jersey, and this one guy, we ordered pizza, and he was like delivering the Domino's, because Domino's was my stuff back then. And then he saw the sticker that my dad had on our car. It was like the big R. You know how parents do, repping their kids that went to college. My kid's in college. And he was like, "Oh, you go to Rutgers?" And I said, yeah, I go to Rutgers. And he was like, "Oh, I wish I could go to Rutgers. I wish I could go to Rutgers. I've always thought of doing that." And I was like, "Then do it."
Right. Go on.
If you want to, just go. Like, I don't get it. I'm confused. And then he was just like, "Nah, I can't afford that. I can't afford to go to school." And I was like, "This is what you need to do." I took out a pen and a paper, and like the I'm sure he had other deliveries, but I was like, "You gotta fill out your FAFSA, okay? And what you gotta do is make sure you select this and this." And like, I was going through for so long, and it allowed me to really have that passion for connecting with people that are just like going into this with like, there are certain things that I can do, and there are certain things that aren't really for me. And I feel like that too needs to be addressed, so that you can, we all know doctor, lawyer, preacher, we all know all that. But there is some really cool, interesting stuff that you can do in STEM that really meet your particular, needs or fascinations. And we can explore all of those too.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Oh, now we got an echo. But we're in this time frame, especially with social media and the internet, where you can find like-minded people, things you may not even known you were interested in, these amazing jobs that I've come across all throughout STEM. Like, all it is a little Google search, and you just never know what you're gonna find.
True.
Yeah, absolutely. That actually gives me a good example of something that happened the other day. So there was this guy. So I just took this course to it was a course that help you with something that's called a PE exam, or license for a professional engineering exam. So and there was like a little chat box, so that's where a lot of interaction took place. And at the end of the class, after I took the exam and hallelujah, I passed. So I just wanted to thank the professor for his hard work, and I just say good luck to everyone else. And I got a call. This was maybe end of February of this year, and then 2 months later, I got a call, and it was from this guy, and he said, "Yo, I saw your message that you had passed, and then I looked you up on LinkedIn, and I saw who you were, and we have a lot of similarities." And so I was just listening to the voice, and I was in the middle of work, so I was like, "Oh, okay," because I'm thinking it's a telemarketer and stuff, because I just get unknown calls, things like that. Something tell me something, That's how he got my number. But then he said, yeah, so he's taking the class too, and he's trying to pass too. So then he just wanted to know like some of my insights. But we connected a lot first before we even got to like the facts and the nitty gritty of all like the test taking strategies and things like that. And we really did have a lot to like. We were both Black. We were both Haitian. We were both we lived in the same area for a little while. We connected on so many different things. I got like almost a little giddy at that point, because it was over Zoom, so I can't really connect to anybody. I'm just sitting there taking the material. But it's like, you really do want that connection. You will try to seek it out, if the opportunity's there. So and then you can, possibly find someone that can help you out, or you can take the opportunity to help someone else out. And that's just really what it's about, like helping to push each other forward, So yeah, I'll strive for that, I feel like.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I went to college before internet and social media. And so, but I went to a small HBCU. Yeah, it wasn't as much. I think we had IM, and that was about the basis of what we can do. But I went to a small HBCU called Stillman College.
Okay.
And but that connection is real. You connect with people who look like you, thinks like you, or taking the same classes as you, and you want to see each other succeed.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then you start thinking you can do it too. You start knowing or being more confident. Yeah, I could do this too then, just making that visual connection to
Yeah,
yourself. Very important. So
Oh
it
yeah.
is.
So how did you guys come up with the Black hypothesis? Where did that come from?
That's
uh
gonna have to start with the Langston.
yeah.
Okay.
So the term, are you talking about the name or the podcast in
Let's
general, or?
let's start with the name and then get into the podcast.
Oh, okay. So the name actually came up with so we had another co-founder that started with us, and she was super creative. And I'm not a super creative artsy type of person, but she just thought the two words and put it together, and that stuck more than anything else. So shout out to our creatives out there, for real.
Hmm.
Um, we really didn't know what to do with it yet, but then we were like, oh, why don't we just start a podcast, and that's when eventually I was introduced to Papermade, and it's we really took a liking to each other, and we were very interested in the same things, and she joined the team, and I'm really glad she did.
Thanks.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the funny thing is that coming from the last co-founder to join the group, I
Mhm.
was like wanting to develop something, but I didn't have a team. Like I couldn't find people that would want to develop it with me. And then it's a funny way though, because he didn't even go into detail about how we met. Because the truth of the matter is we went to a networking event, right? And you would have thought from there that I met him there. No, I didn't. My sister met him there and they started dating, and then it was through her realizing that, oh, this is your kind of thing, you've always wanted to do this, like he seems like he's interested in you partnering with him, so why don't, and it was through my sister that we actually worked out a partnership, so I became a co-founder that way. Kudos. Yes,
Kudos,
it's
kudos.
been sisters and best friends.
Yeah, and she's also my fiance now, so there's been developments all over. So
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
that's awesome. That's like organic and beautiful, you know?
Really,
You guys
really,
are now like,
that's the Caribbean style, organic.
you guys went from, I mean, you guys are starting off as co-hosts and then going to be family and still
Right,
riding together with
right.
this.
right in.
So when
So
I whip him into shape on the podcast, that's like real. That's real love.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So, and I get it. Sometimes, not all time, but sometimes and I don't want to say thinkers, but the people who are more analytical are not always artistic.
Yeah.
So, with the original co-founder, were you guys still going to be doing STEM? Was she a part of STEM, or she was just like, I like the idea and I want to run with it?
she's very interested in the topic. Like
Mhm.
it just, it's not like something that she has to do. She just pursues it on her own. It's almost like, I was gonna come up with an example that doesn't really fit, but it's just almost like, hey, that looks really interesting. So it's almost like the kid that, now I have a good one. So there's the kid that you force to play piano, and you force and force and force and force, and then by the time he's like 16, 17, he just stops playing the piano because you can't force him to do it anymore. Then there's the
Right.
kid that you never really like tried, but he sees the piano and he's like interested, and by the time he gets exposed to it, he takes it all the way because he teaches himself music, and his actual own curiosity drives a lot of his effort. I would say it's more like that, in that ways. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's we've been dabbling and checking in on things because right now one of the discussions is whether or not we would like to make that move to Steam, because we
Mm,
honestly see the connections between that artistic outlook, because we say art, but really many arts, what I've come to realize, are they have a science ingrained somewhere in there. There are
Yeah.
certain things that people are more inclined to find attractive, and it's those people who can manipulate those things and study them in a way to like deliver that to the masses or to people in general that get it right that are mostly successful. And whenever we look at music and stuff, like I don't know how to read music, let me not lie, I don't know how to read music, but when you try to read music and when you're learning about it, I'm like, whoa, okay, I'm seeing science in here. Like I'm
Right.
seeing that I could study the way that we enjoy certain sounds and the way that we enjoy certain sights and colors and how we feel when we perceive them, and the science in that. And one of the discussions that we also had on our podcast was how sometimes there can be a clash between the practical sciences, the social sciences, the mathematical sciences, and measured and all of that. And at the end of the day, what we define as a science are those that are dependent on scientific thought, scientific methods to produce answers, or at least a cyclical process of figuring out stuff. Because we like to pretend that we come up with an end solution when we really don't. We just
Yeah.
come out with something else to go back right in. So,
Yeah.
and as long as we're using that, it's a science.
Yeah, and even to piggyback off of what Papermade was saying, like you can see a lot of applications or theory from arts or music, something like that, into something else like physics, right? Like music, for example, I think that's an easy one because there's terms like harmonics and frequencies and things like that, and you'll see those same exact principles in things when you're studying like signals or wavelengths or in certain like power theory type of things as well. And the effects are different, but mostly because it's a different type of wavelength, different type of energy, but it's still, the same, it's still the same idea, so.
And since he's going to bring up the physics, then I have to bring up the biology, because then you have to factor in how in psychiatry, the same things are used as well. Those frequencies, those wavelengths are what are being studied when we think about, okay, this kind of wavelength of sound or energy or heat is allowing your nervous system to respond in this way, respond in that way. And manipulating that is how we can have mood stabilizers, have different, the lights that we use, mood stabilizing lights, fixtures. So things like that it's all just the same
It's
thing.
all ingrained.
It's all ingrained. Like if you have an interest in any of it, you can find your place,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do want to say, just remind everybody, we are live. I do see you guys jumping in and out watching. So make sure you leave a comment or a question and let us know that you're there. But back to you two. Yes, it's all ingrained. I know that there's people who don't always want to add the A, and that's the very, I don't know. I don't want to call them rigid. They're not rigid, but they're they're kind of set in their way, which is fine. I don't mind the artistic aspect of it because there's so many things that are happening. When I talk to people in STEM, I always, or people not in STEM. Let me rephrase. People not in STEM, I always be like, you're doing it anyway. I mean, if you're on your phone, if you're cooking, if you're walking your dog, like somewhere in there is STEM. So art is always going to be a part of it. But there's people in the art world that don't necessarily want to join STEM either.
Which is why it's an ongoing discussion.
Got some work to do then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, whatever. Bring it all to the table.
Exactly.
I talk to everybody.
Whatever you're interested in, I'm sure there's something that attracts you, and there's no way to be attracted. There's just so much beauty in science, and there's just so much science in beauty that you can't really just be like, oh, I'm one or the other. Like, so.
That reminds me of, I'm sure we all watch Big Bang Theory. And Sheldon, okay, so anyone that doesn't, Sheldon is like this super smart, freakishly genius. He's getting his PhD in like physics or something like that, nuclear physics, some sort of physics that's super maybe it's quantum physics. Anyway, so there's another guy in the friend group. He's like a mechanical engineer, and he's really good in his regard. But Sheldon craps on him all the time
All the
because it's
time.
like real science. So I feel
And
like
he
it's
didn't
kind
get a
of
PhD.
like you don't want to let someone in the fold. There's a certain type of like notoriety that comes with a certain subject, you know.
Exactly.
So it's not riffraff. It's getting in. Like we're all like I said, we're all connected in some way, and there's something you can learn. It's probably something that Sheldon could have learned from Wallace that would have helped him out. You know, if he wasn't such
Exactly.
arrogant. So I mean,
And that's, I feel, speaks to something that a lot of scientists and schools are considering at this point, because there was a point that, for the MCAT, you didn't have to know any sociology. All of a sudden, yeah, you have to know sociology. Why? Because these people don't even know how to interact with other people or how to deal with people from different cultures. And how are you going to be a doctor who can't treat somebody from another culture who doesn't speak your language? How are you going to work through those issues? And so it just goes to show that it's not just a conversation that we're having. It's a conversation that is systematically needed, and that's being explored all over, because we're realizing the gaps that focusing on only, rationale, or say logic, or even just your divided silo of information in your niche field, not knowing anything else about it, or not perceiving anything else to be important, can be detrimental, not only to you, but to whatever company or institution you end up working for sure.
Right. Social skills are very important. I know that there is MD and now there's DO, and DO is trying to be more mind, body, spirit, hands on. We're
Mm-hmm.
gonna, not, hey, your back hurts, here's some Tylenol, here's a prescription for Tylenol. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they're a little less dependent on the chemicals that enhance, the way that we can react to certain things, for sure. If there's a way to not use a medicine,
Right.
then why not take advantage of it? And I see that a lot in DOs, for sure.
Absolutely. So it's just great. I think that bringing the art into it is phenomenal. But like I said, if you want to talk to me, I mean, I'm always open to talk to anybody. And it's weird because I'm really a shy person by nature. It doesn't seem like it, but I am. So if it's me in a room full of people I don't know, I'm not talking to nobody. But if you come talk to me, you might get an earful. I'll probably talk your head off. So it's bad. But
Yeah.
So we talked about this podcast, but what is your guys' STEM background? And we can start with the Langston. What is
yeah. Sure. Let's see background. All right, so I'll take you back to the year was 1992. My dad had this. It's like this little. I'm gonna call it like a board, and the board does a lot of things, but you had to make certain connections on the board. There's a whole bunch of connection points on it, and they gave you like a manual, and it could tell you what it can do. So if you wanted the speaker to make a dog barking sound, it would show you the diagram like a schematic, and then it would give you like these little wires like with jack plugs, and you have to connect it the exact same way that the diagram tells you to make it do the sound or make the lights or play a song or something like that. So my dad would play with me while we're using this board thing. And then he would try to get me to do it myself. I didn't know what I was doing, so I would like put random things together, but then eventually I would get it. And then he kind of like encouraged me, gave me a high five. So that moment, I guess, kind of stuck with me. And obviously other things like that. But I think moments like that got me more interested in things that had to do with like circuits or electricity and how that type of stuff worked. So I went to Brooklyn Technical High School in Brooklyn, big up, Flatbush, feel me? I studied electrical engineering from there, and I just never really left from that. So after that, I went to it was called Polytech at the time. Now it's called NYU's Tandon School of Engineering. I studied electrical engineering there, and I got my master's at Drexel University, and I got my master's in EE as well. So I never really veered away from that, and now I'm working in the electric utility, the power industry. So it's been very rewarding, fulfilling just to be able to serve, because so I feel like the power industry, that's a need that everybody has. Like everybody needs electricity, no matter what color and how old you are or your background, anything like that. So it's good to have a diverse workforce and engineering personnel that's able to design things and make sure that what you're designing can fit and keep in mind those types of customers, and I think that also fits into what Papermade was saying before. Yeah, the people that are making the end product for the end user, they need to be as diverse as the customers themselves,
Right.
So that's pretty much what I've been doing with my academic and professional career, and I'm really happy doing it. So
yeah.
Well, all right.
He's like over and out.
And I'm
Drop
done.
the mic. I can't. But as for me, honestly, and sometimes it's like that, right? Sometimes it's kind of like beginning to end. You're veering on this like linear path to where you end up, and it is so beautiful. I was not as linear. Growing up, I showed a fascination and an interest in biology. That much has been constant. My like gift, I like to say gift just because some things, and you can tell what a gift is, y'all, if it's like if it comes a little bit easier than it should and you probably have taken advantage of it, that's a gift. So that for me was biology. I was never really squeamish about things, and I liked helping my family members around the house if anybody got hurt. If you got a splinter, I'm gonna take it out. Just sit right there, just relax. I got this. I know exactly what angle to take it out at, or if you need some ointment rubbed or what have you. And because of that, I got into this space where, and there was a show that I watched, and I think a lot of people who got into biology probably watched it, but it's called Osmosis Jones.
The movie Osmosis Jones.
Yes, the movie. And then after that, my life was changed forever, because I was just like, this is why it's so easy for me to understand this stuff, is because I'm thinking in this weird way that maybe not everybody thinks. And I acknowledged it. So, I did my classes, my honors classes, what have you. And then later on, I decided, the better part of me started getting fearful, right? Because I was just like, I don't know if I really want to get into medicine. As good as I was, like, I was just like, there was some part of me that made me feel like the career wasn't what I enjoyed about medicine, and I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much in that career because of how I felt about it. My feelings got involved. So then, which was not it was not normal for me to get emotional about things. Like, I was very analytical, but something put me off about it. So I got into public health, which I liked very much because it mixed the statistical things that I cared for, the analysis, and all the things that I cared about research, without having too much of that clinical face-to-face interaction. And it's not that I'm not a social person, I am, but it's just, sometimes people too well to mess with some people, because I'll be that one. And I don't want to be in that situation every day, where I have to put somebody in their place. So then I was just like, you know what? I like this, where I can study it and I can disseminate the information that's relevant to people, and I can still help them learn what's best for them. And that was one of the things that I wanted to do. So that's why I got into public health. I like biostatistics. I do that now. I do a lot of emergency management, and right now I do even threat management, which is a lot of like behavioral stuff, which is the first time I'm doing as much behavior and psychological things, but it's very interesting.
So when you say, well, first of all, kudos to your work. It sounds amazing.
Aw.
And no, everyone's path is not linear. In fact, most people I've interviewed
Most people.
don't
And
have
I
a
find
linear.
that important to say because sometimes people think, oh, I would have had to do this so long ago. No, you can change back and forth and come back and go there and go there. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah. And I've like I said, it's so many. I feel like 90%, if not more, of the people I've interviewed do not have a linear path. They have their ups and downs and their hills, or they say this is what I want to do, and then for some reason it changes.
Mhm.
And it's like I have a good friend of mine who is a micropaleontologist, a Black woman,
Ooh.
and
I love it. I love it.
long title to say she works with very tiny things, but
Yes.
but she went to college for art, I think, photography.
Wow.
Yeah,
But then
and
again, I see the connection.
yeah.
Then again, I see the connection there because in college I did do um, biological anthropology as my undergrad.
Hmm.
And one of those classes was an archaeology class, and we had to, there was a lab where we had a lot of materials and dirt and stuff, and there would be small little pieces that you had to define, like, is this bone? Is this material? Is this stone? What have you? And it's just like, how am I gonna tell? I don't know.
They're
Like,
tiny.
and so you have to learn things about the materials, and that's interesting because there is an art, there's an artistic eye. I believe in an artistic eye. I'm sorry. So an artistic eye, I feel like she could probably tell better than some the differences between the fixtures, the grooves, the this, the
Right.
that. Her observation skills may be more inclined than some others, which would
I'll
be
have to
helpful.
tell her you said that,
Woo.
which is awesome. And I don't
Let
know
me
if
make a friend.
I ever thought about that or she thought about that, but I do know she went to college for art, and then an advisor or something like that was like, "You need a science class. Why don't you take geology?" And she fell in love with geology. She changed her major completely, and now she's traveling the world doing crazy things in geology. And it was just a random class that she took in college.
Wow.
So do you believe in taking random classes then?
I do. I think
I
that,
do.
you have your set classes, but just being open minded, whether
Mhm.
it's a program, a certificate, a class, or just even people, like you just never know.
Yeah, I agree. If you're paying that much money to go to school, or hopefully we are one of those who pay a little less or nothing
Right.
at all in the future. If you're doing all this work, you might as well make sure that you're exploring it and taking advantage of the knowledge that you have at your fingertips and the people who have the experience to really teach you something new,
Yeah.
because you never know.
And I've found that most people in these types of programs, or most people in these fields, want to talk to you. They want to help you. They want the next generation to be interested in it. So ask questions, be around them, be like, oh, what do you do? Because you just never know.
Exactly. It's so odd too because there are so many fields that in STEM, right? Because that's a part of what we're doing. It's just that sometimes maybe you may know about this career path because your mom did it or your daddy did it, but how many of us don't have our mom or our dad doing this you really out there or unique STEM field? And like I said, we know a lot about doctors and nurses. We do. And those niche, there's still niches in there that we don't even know about, to be totally
Right.
honest. You know, however, it's sometimes really I feel encouraging for those people when they do have somebody to talk to or somebody who does get excited about what it is that they do, because that doesn't happen that often. It really doesn't happen that often. There aren't that many people studying or doing what these people do at all, And so, like, it comes to the point where you think, well, we're going to have to import these people at some point because we don't have enough people doing this particular thing. And there's a greater need than there are people who have the wherewithal, the knowledge, or the experience to provide what it is the need is. So why not fill that need? And therefore you can do something that is unique to you, not have to deal with as much competition, because that's a luxury too. Nobody wants to be fighting tooth and nail for a job every day or every few years. You might as well get paid what you're worth. And you can also have that prestige, right? If that's what it is that you want. Because let's be honest, Dr. So and so ain't always going to be prestigious anymore. Okay. Just like I'm sure doing woodwork was prestigious before, and doing, being a baker and all of that, and a ironsmith or what have you, that used to be prestigious. That is not anymore, right? So it really doesn't matter about the title or what you're thinking, like, I want my name up in lights. Because you never know when those lights are going to dim. You just do what you want to do.
Exactly. And I mean, I think you brought up a good point, which is, when you're trying new things and talking to new people, like, you have this opportunity to create a niche, or, someone might point you in a direction. It may not be your family. It may not be someone you grew up with, And so I wanted to ask, was there someone in particular, like school-wise, teacher-wise, friend-wise, adult-wise, whatever, that kind of helped guided you? I don't feel like that's a word, but helped guide you into what you're doing now or what you want to do?
I can think of one teacher in high school. He I took this, like, it was like an elementary circuits course. I wouldn't even say elementary because some of the year-end projects are pretty hard, but so let's say it was a circuits course. And he would make the class fun and interesting because a lot of it, we had to deal with a lot of theory at first, and it was mostly stuff that we didn't really understand just because it's the first time we're seeing it. But he would do things like if you got the answer wrong, and he had this like imaginary, it sounds dumb now saying it, we had like an imaginary gun, right? And if you get the answer wrong, if you're fooling around, he's going to ask you a question about what he's talking about to see if you were at least paying attention, if you're going to be fooling around in class. If you did it, he'd shoot you like that. We were kids like that. So he was like, oh, And sometimes you may have been fooling around, or you may not have been fooling around, but you were like too close to the people that were fooling around. So he'll put you under the gun, and then like you have to like kind of think, all right, so he wants to know this, this, and this. What did I learn from homework or something like that? And you would get it right, and then like, all right, he'd spare you, and that was like a big triumphant thing too in the class. On top of that, so there's like that type of motivation. But he's also just all around like a really good teacher. He there was a lot of application in that class too. There's a whole bunch of workstations with these like low voltage stuff. And like we would do a bunch of experiments, and he would show us how to at least prep them first, and he would pretend like he got shocked, but he really did it because that would be really bad. But he would just make it fun and engaging is what I meant. And a lot of that, I think that's a lot of what teachers kind of lack, especially when it's something that kids don't know for the first time. Right. You think you just need to say it and they'll just get it and they'll just know what to do to pass the test, and that's it. And you really need to meet them where they're at and make it fun and make it engaging and help them to understand why it's important, or why this is important for the next topic, or why what we just learned is important for this topic, things like that. So I would say it was the teachers that made the topics easier to learn by connecting with us more. I would say that was the most encouraging for me.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with him more. Definitely the teachers that were engaging and kind of like brought life and fun and experiences and memories to the classroom. Not just you're just here, I'm just here for a check.
Yeah.
Just sit down because these are the words that I must say because you'll be
Mhm.
tested. Those kind of, it was just completely different. And I would say, like I said before, yeah, I was pretty great at biology. So even before this class, I was really good at it, but I had an advanced bio teacher in high school. I even remember her name, Miss Hershey. She was so awesome. Like if you saw her, she would remind you of like the school. What was that TV show, the school bus, Magic School
Magic
Bus?
School Bus.
She was just like that teacher. Like she would wear really fun earrings, like with teacups and stuff like that in the earrings. And I'm like, girl, with long, like whitish hair. And it was just like what I loved the most about her was that she didn't have a problem teaching for every different kind of learner. Like, you
Mhm.
know, like she could say something, she would have the pictures there, or say she would do a presentation or show a video every now and again. She literally, when it came to describing how enzymes break down different proteins and what have you, this woman, I'm telling you, she wasn't like, I told you she had long white hair. I'm gonna leave it at that. She
Yeah.
climbed up on her table, laid down flat on the table, stuck her head into her sink like this. So the protein goes into enzyme like a key in a hole, like a key in the, and so like, and it's meant to fit exactly this shape. So imagine if the sink only could fit my head. Like I was just like, yo, this is so cool. I've never seen a teacher like lay down on their table and stick their head in their sink just so that I could learn something. Thank you.
It
And
was like
that kind of was appreciative. I was appreciative of the energy that she gave. Like, you know, she just made it fun. And so to that point, that's why I remember her name. If you didn't stick your head into a sink, I don't remember your name. It's like, I'm kidding, but
shout out
that
to Mr.
kind of
McCollum for
energy,
shooting us
you
with
will
air guns.
remember your name.
You said shout out to who?
Mr. McCollum for shooting us with air guns.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Well, and it's so amazing. Like, I actually had a teacher in college, in undergrad, Dr. Krotzer, and I went to a small HBCU, but she was not black, and she was, I think she just retired a few years ago, but she was like the anatomy and physiology teacher, and she's a really good artist, so she'd be drawing all these things on the
Wow. You
board.
got lucky.
Yeah, right.
Anatomy and physiology, if they're great at art, it's like so helpful.
Yes, she was so good at art. And here's the funny thing. I mean, I'm sharing my age, but I graduated college in 2004. So
Mm-hmm.
quite a while ago. And I probably took her class in 2001 or 2002. I took two classes with her. But I had her on my show as a live as a guest because I mean she made such a impact. You know
That's
what I mean?
amazing.
Yeah, I had her as a guest,
Yeah,
and huh?
that's a good idea, actually. I'm glad you
Yeah,
said that.
I had her as the guest, and here's the thing: is like I promoted it, of course, in our alumni group and things like that. And I think I had the most people watching that day, and people just came on and wanted to thank her. And these are the people who took her classes over a span of over 20 years of her teaching that wanted to come back and be like, "Oh, Dr. Crosby, you're amazing." And I mean, she's my friend on Facebook still. To this day, I still watch her drawing birds and taking photos. She's more photography now, but yeah, and teachers like that just leaving an imprint. And it was amazing to see that she didn't just leave an imprint with me, she left an imprint with so many students throughout her whole tenure at
And I
Stillman.
bet that touched her too.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was great to see all the people coming back and like because like this, I use Restream, and so I shared the link, and people just was hopping on like, "Hey, I wanted to say this and this and this." It was good. It was really good.
You remember that one time when you did this? That would be me too. I'd be like, remember when you stuck your head in a stick?
Right. And we went to a small HBCU. It's like kind of going to a big high school, I feel like. And so, we all kind of knew each other when we was there. And there was people, teachers would be like, I see you, but I didn't see you in class today. So what are you doing? And Dr. Cross would be like, why are you walking this way? But your class is this way. I'm going to need you to go this way. It was cool.
That's good, though. That's good. Keep you on your P's and Q's.
Oh.
Yes, it was awesome. But so where do you guys see yourselves, you and your podcast, in the next 5 years?
Good question.
Good question.
You got that, Langston?
So I do see a lot more impact. I want us to be in schools. In schools, maybe some sort of a curriculum that's based around getting more youth interested in STEM. So, because I feel like a lot of things, if you want to make a lasting change, you kind of have to get them while they're young. So I think that would be like one part of our outreach is just funneling out, instead of like what is it called, something to prison pipeline, cradle to prison pipeline, like a cradle to
prison pipeline.
Thank you. Yeah, so I want something like that to push it more into like the STEM fields, something like that. That's one thing that I want to see us do, and partner with a bunch of people to make happen. That's it.
Yeah. I'd also like to work with connecting people, and we're going to have this on our website. It's being revamped currently, but I'll give you the link to it eventually, like really soon.
On there, you can hop on.
Yeah, but what I want to do is like we want to have a method of like connecting people within Black Hypothesis. And we don't want it to be something where it's just like, oh, yeah, I know you from back in the day, or I grew up with you, so I got you the ends. Like, just send me your resume. This is something that's completely like, okay, this is what's going on. This is what I see. I'll give you the real. Here's the tea. This is what the opportunity is. Is there anyone who's up for the challenge?
Right.
Like, and then you can meet these people, because like we said before, a lot of times we're not growing up in these societies or sometimes households where everybody's doing what we're doing, so when it comes to us hearing so much about how the new workforce and the new method of getting jobs is all networking and who and who you're close to. It's just like, but what if I don't know anybody? What do I do? Like, what do I do if I'm studying physics, but I don't know anyone who does this for their career? What if I want to be an MD, but I don't know any doctors who can help me out and get me an internship so that I can learn something about medicine and do well to get into a good medical school? What if I don't know all this stuff? And it's just like, well, we need a method of getting people together where you can touch base and really just be your authentic self and say, this is what I know. This is what I bring to the table. This is what, I can contribute. And somebody's like, all right, listen, let's hook up, let's link up, and I can help you out with this and that. Make sure that you're prepared, because I don't want you going and embarrassing yourself. Got to make sure. And then everything can develop from there. And I think that would be really helpful, especially for a lot of people who are thinking of changing careers. Maybe you studied something, but you want to try out something else because you realize like what you studied isn't exactly you. Sometimes it's not just people that are coming right out of school. It could be somebody that's like, I've spent all my time doing this, and now I realize what I really want to do is this. and I don't know anybody over there. So could you, what do I need to do? What information do I need to know? Where should I, what should I look up? And you can have that connection of people who can make those links for you. So that's something that we definitely want to get into at Black Hypothesis too, is just kind of like connecting people and linking them to information, but also other people and resources that could get them to where they want to be.
Okay. I think I'm trying to remember. I think her name is Dr. Natasha Anderson. She has a podcast called Stemming in Stilettos. I'm trying to look her up. Yeah, Stemming in Stilettos. But she does a mentorship type thing. It's like a list of all types of professionals in STEM that you can just join and look up and be a part of that. So that's, she would probably be someone good to connect with.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Anderson.
So. Yep. Let me see. I'm about to. But yeah, and I think that's somebody who can be a good person. I'm about to share her info.
Awesome.
Her website.
Natasha.
Yeah, she's cool. I put it in the chat. Her.
Perfect.
And
you're amazing. Oh my gosh.
There's so many. I mean, I would say, you can look through the podcast that I've done. There's so many people, especially Black people that I've talked to, that would be willing to help you along the way, which I think majority of us are just like, let's all win. We all got
let's all win.
Yeah, we all got seats at the table. Nobody is trying to overshadow anybody.
Oh, no.
So yeah, if there's someone, if you see somebody you want to talk to, let me know. I will definitely do an introduction, an introduction if possible, and go from there.
All right, bet.
Yeah, like so we are getting towards the end. So what is one thing that you would want to tell? Let me rephrase it. If you can talk to your 12-year-old self, what piece of advice would you give them? I'm just catching y'all with these.
Oh, I'm ready.
What would you like to give?
A list of things. Go ahead if you're ready.
Okay. The number one thing that I would say, I feel, to 12-year-old me is there are just a couple of things that are important for your life in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're good to yourself and you're good to others, then you should not feel any type of way about living for your happiness, if that makes sense. So that's what I would tell my 12-year-old self. I would tell, because sometimes, especially in the way that some of us grow, especially Black women, sometimes we have to like grow up way too fast. You're like kind of forced to be somebody older, more mature, or who can handle a lot more than you should really have to. And I feel that I would tell 12-year-old me, like, enjoy yourself, girl. Like, enjoy yourself. As long as you ain't hurting anybody, like, you're not hurting yourself, you're not hurting it's not going to kill anybody. Just enjoy yourself. And sometimes I think that we're working so hard that we forget that life is meant to be lived. As much as we want to study and strive for all these amazing accomplishments, we do want to get good grades. We want to have that job that's going to take us 20 years to achieve, what have you. All that is fine and dandy, but rushing yourself to the point in which you cannot enjoy yourself as you go is problematic. It's very problematic. You should get to enjoy yourself too. Enjoy yourself.
That's awesome. Love that. What about
I would,
you?
I would say for me, piggybacking off of what Papermade's part about living life and stuff, there's gonna be. I would tell 12-year-old me, the Langston Joules, that look, there's gonna be opportunities that may come your way. There's gonna be some challenges that may come your way, and do not shy away from them. Okay,
Mm,
definitely. And if you do, don't let it be for the reason because you're scared and that's it. Because this life is
yeah.
short. Okay, and at the end of it, you're not gonna think about all the things that you did. You may just regret the things that you didn't try to do, and now you don't even have the opportunity to do it. So I would say definitely go after it, go get it, and don't have any regrets. Just pursuing the things that you want to pursue, and yeah, how do you, baby boy? That's how that.
I love
Definitely.
it.
I
All
spoke to
right.
an uncle the other day, and I was telling him happy birthday, and we got into it because he's Jamaican, so he had to be like, I just hate it's so morbid when people say live every day as your last, and I was just like, okay, then we should just live every day like it's our first, or
Mm,
live every day like we would live forever, is what he would say. So either of those work, but I think at the fundamental, at the ground level of what we said, there was that.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell us, how can we find your podcast?
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Go ahead, D. Langston. He has this part memorized, so I let him do it.
I'm glad you asked, Cat Bobino. See, so the website is blackhypothesis.com. We also have a Facebook and Instagram, also the same type of spelling. You can also reach us at blackhypothesis@gmail.com. If you can remember the word black and hypothesis and put it together, there's some platform. You can find us on platforms.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
We even have a LinkedIn.
yep, there we
Oh,
go. And we have a LinkedIn too. So we love to connect with all you guys, and it was definitely great being on here. Thank you for having us, Kat. Appreciate it.
not a problem. I was trying to share your page, the Black High Pop. There it is.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Boom.
yay!
There's their website. Make sure you guys. Oh no, wait, that's the Apple Pod. Anyway, you can go to Apple Podcast too. And
Yeah, we're on like any platform. So
yeah. But thank you guys for being a part of the show. I really appreciate you guys taking your time out. I know you're on the East Coast, so it is getting about that time.
Eh,
Well, y'all
eh.
young. Y'all
For
young. I get
you,
ready
for
for bed
you,
around this
anything. I appreciate what you're doing. It's so wonderful to see that just we got a group, we got a crew here doing what it do and introducing people to all the knowledge that it is that they're seeking, and making those connections. And I really appreciate the work that you're doing. And thank you so much for your invitation.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. But
And we
I'm
will be following up and making sure that we're connecting and posting your stuff as well on our website and all that good stuff.
absolutely.
awesome. My dog is getting my attention. He's like, it's
Oh my
time to go
god, he's
outside.
so cute.
Okay,
Oh,
we're going. We're going. All right, you guys. Yeah, make sure you guys keep up. You guys have my email. And if I can help you with anything, just ask me. I'm
yeah,
always
yeah. We'll let you know if we make it out to the West Coast. We'll let you know, okay? We'll let you know
All
when
right.
we out there.
All right. Y'all have a good night. Thank
All
you.
right. Have a good night. Bye.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.